The title was it was one of the earlier things that came around, I think. There was a bunch of other ideas, and at some point when I had landed on the object of this sort of bath window hybrid, once that had become like a clear like anchor in the exhibition, that's when Bad Zeit came up. My title often comes, and it's got an attitude to it, which gives a feeling to the making of the exhibition. I call them spurts because it's a sort of horrible word, but it spurts of blood, spurts of semen, spurts of water, it's descriptive of the form, but it always, I think it connects a lot to bodily liquids. The word rendering was the word that was like coming most to mind. And like rendering's this thing that if you like render something on the computer, it's this time where you can't do anything else, you're just waiting, and it's doing something complicated and hard, but it sort of stops you up, it like pauses you can't do anything, you're waiting, it has to be done, but it was also just sort of freezing in a way. I mean, it's not nice, but it's one of the things that comes with these drawings, these sculptures, that there's a sort of a certain amount of scraping that has to be done, and there's a point where you're not really in control anymore. You're just doing whatever it is required of you, but that's definitely like this sort of heavy labor element of it is sort of important to me. I guess that comes out of my interest in sort of performing craft or craftsmanship, which for me has always been a sort of reaction to the history of art and the absence of women in that history. So the mistletoe plant, it feels almost wrong to call it a plant, because when you say the word plant, you think of something growing out of soil and doing all the normal things plants do, but mistletoe is a parasite which grows with its roots inside the branches of another plant, a tree. It takes what it needs from its host without really, obviously, having its own life support system. I mean, it just about gets away with it, but it essentially kills its host by mistake over time. And it's on its own, it's all together that it happens. It's not one plant probably can't kill a tree, but when it has all its kids and one thing leads to another, and then 20 years later, whoops, we killed the tree and we ruined our lives too. It feels very familiar at the moment. Okay, so the livers. There's two references for this form outside. One is this small bronze object called the liver of Piacenza, which is a sort of handheld facsimile of a sheep's liver. And there's another object in the Etruscan Museum in Rome that's bigger, a bit more like these outside, which is a votive liver. It's a small, sort of flat ceramic version of a liver, also with this sort of landscape, but a little bit more connected to reality in terms of its representation of this form. And then I have been using the surface as a sort of place to draw in a way that's sort of uses like drawings from my notebooks and like puts them into a different context and sort of tries to sort of scry a new meaning from them, or an understanding of something coming or going from that. Some of the drawings on those livers are of the coot, and it has a malignant economic strategy of it'll have a clutch of 7 eggs, has 7 babies, and during the first weeks or months of the baby's life, it assesses the situation of its territory and the food supply, and then like murders its children according to what the status is of its food supply. This like monstrous parent thing was interesting to me. The bath window hybrid object, it sort of goes quite a long way back. In 2020, I did a residency in Rome, and my proposal for the residency was to research drinking fountains. And the city has a lot of municipal drinking fountains. It's like one of the characters of Rome that I think most of when I think of Rome. So I'd been thinking about the sort of recycling of Roman sarcophaguses as water collectors for public fountains there. And there's a particular one on the edge of town. It has the form of the body in it. So this form, this like watery place, this like place that's for collecting water, also has the body, a previous use as a place to carry a body. And of course they look like baths because a bath and a coffin seem to be a similar form. And so it's a tomb or a sarcophagus, and it's a window, and it's a bath. In English we call it an arrow slit window, and sometimes it has a cross in it, and sometimes it's just a slit. But I guess that's depending on whether you're using a crossbow or a longbow. But I was thinking about that space that you stand inside when you're shooting a bow, an arrow out into the attacking force, into the besieging force. So you're in this very safe space, and you can see out of it. You're seeing but not being seen. And you're also hurting people. So it's very like there's a sort of you're looking and not being seen, and you're killing people. But at the same time, if you zoom out, you're totally fucked because you're surrounded by a whole army, and you're very much in a defensive position. You're not. And so psychologically, to take that as a metaphor, that's a really bad situation to be in. You know, that's a caged animal. That's a bad time. Yeah.